A race of immortals harnessed the emerald energy of green power, the most powerful force in existence billions of years ago. The planet OA was built by the immortals, the guardians of the universe. They divided the universe into 3,600 sectors and could keep track of all of them in real time. This planet, they sent a ring of willpower to each district to select a recruit. The ring selects only the brave. The Green Lantern Corps was made up of 3,600 recruits who worked as peacekeepers throughout the universe. Parallax, an entity of fear, is the Corps' most serious threat. Only the legendary Green Lantern Abin of Sector 2814, who imprisoned it in the Lost Sector on the desolate planet Riot, was able to capture it. In the present day, 3 alien astronauts are stranded on the abandoned planet Riot in Sector 666 after their spacecraft malfunctions. They begin walking on the planet's surface before falling into a hole. It's Parallax, whom they see imprisoned in a green-lit stone. He senses their fear and feeds on it and their life force, killing them all and increasing his vitality. He then escapes from prison. On Earth, a young boy named Hal Jordan converses with his pilot father, Martin Jordan. Hal is concerned whenever he hears his mother express concern about his father's upcoming test flight in a new plane. He asks his father if he is scared, but he tells him that not being scared is part of the job and then tucks Hal in for the night. The next day, Hal wakes up late and rushes to catch the school bus, but instead he visits his father at the airport and asks permission to stay and watch him fly the new plane. Martin then hands his son his jacket and tells him to keep warm for him. Bob then instructs Martin to prepare for the flight. Meanwhile, Hal visits the office, where he meets with Carol Ferris, Bob's daughter, and Hector Hammond, Senator Robert Hammond's son. Robert arrives and asks Bob if everything is going as planned. Carol then asks her father, Bob, if they can observe Martin from the airstrip, and he agrees. They both run to the plane and watch Martin as it begins to take off. But then the plane's tail explodes, and he loses control, flying through the control tower and destroying it. While Hal runs to see his father, he lands the plane on the ground. As he steps off the plane, it explodes, killing him and throwing Hal back. Hal sobs as he considers the accident and the loss of his father. Currently, in Sector 2814, Sinestro informs Abin that it is too late because Planet Fentara and Planet Talak have died, and there are signs of yellow power all over the place. When Sinestro demands an audience with the Guardians, their communication is cut off. Abin's ring warns him that danger is approaching, and then there is an explosion, and he falls. Parallax appears and mortally wounds Abin, but he escapes and boards an escape pod. Back on Earth, an adult Hal Jordan wakes up, rushes to get dressed, and leaves his apartment. As he drives to work, he clumsily wraps a gift, narrowly avoiding a car accident. He is late for a test flight at Ferris Aircraft, where his father used to work. Carol Ferris, his old friend and flight partner, chastises him for his tardiness as he changes into his flight suit. She tells him she does not want him to take the test, but her father insists. She goes on to emphasize the significance of this test and reminds him that the company requires this contract. Hal uses Carol as a decoy during the test flight against the UCAVs, and the UCAVs take her out, allowing him to get behind them. Hal comes up with a new strategy to take them out, so he takes his plane high up until the UCAVs can't follow him. Then Hal eliminates the 2 remaining jets. Hal has PTSD as a result of what happened to his father that day. As a result, he loses control of his plane just as it is about to crash. Bob Banks, Carol, and Carl Ferris, president of Ferris Company, Ferris criticizes Hal's actions. Carl fires him, but he quits, while Carol claims he is grounded pending the outcome of an investigation. Carol asks Hal what happened on the plane that caused him to lose control as Carl and Bob leave. He says the plane's controls locked up on him, but she wonders if he choked. He disregards this by inquiring about her new job. They argue about it, but Carol tells him she doesn't want to see anyone she cares about hurt, especially him. Meanwhile, Abin crashes lands on Earth and dies from his injuries. He instructs his ring to locate a worthy successor on the planet, and a green light appears. As his siblings watch the news about what happened during the flight test, Hal enters his family home. While their mother looks at him with sadness, Hal's brother, Jack, chastises him for his recklessness because he does not want Hal to follow in their father's footsteps. Hal sets out to find his nephew, Jason, to wish him a happy birthday. Jason hugs Hal tightly and tells him he was worried about him as soon as he saw him. When the green ball of light enters Hal's chest, he cheers him up by recalling Jason playing baseball back then and encouraging him to keep playing ball. Hal is whisked away as he leaves, surrounded by a green light that transports him to the crash site. He notices the crashed ship and rushes to help, However, when he gets close to it, he is surprised to see a purple alien. Hal assists the alien in exiting the spaceship, and Abin-Sur tells him with his last breath that the ring chose him. To become the protector of this sector, he must place the ring in the lantern and speak the oath before dying. Hal, unsure of what to do, calls his friend Tom and tells him everything. Tom, perplexed, goes to pick him up. He is taken aback when he sees the ship and wishes to investigate it. But then they hear helicopters approaching, so they flee before the Department of Extraordinary Operations arrives to excavate the site. Sinestro is meeting with the Guardians on the planet OA. He informs them that Abin-Sur is no longer alive and that an unknown enemy has annihilated 4 Green Lanterns as well as 2 other planets. The Guardians, on the other hand, are already aware of the threat and are assessing the situation. Sinestro claims that more innocent people are dying while they figure out what to do. He requests that they allow him and a group of his lanterns to fight the new foe, and they agree. Meanwhile, the DEO summons Dr. Hector Hammond to a secure facility, and Dr. Amanda Waller introduces herself. She shows him the body of Abin-Sur, the purple alien. She informs him that a xenobiologist like him is best suited to conduct an initial assessment of the alien's physiology. While performing the autopsy, a piece of Parallax's DNA from the corpse unexpectedly injects itself into his finger. Hector is overjoyed because they have given him this opportunity and have informed Amanda that the universe will change as a result of this discovery. But, before she leaves, Amanda tells him that everything should be kept private. Hal puts on the ring and tries to charge it at home, but he can't. After several attempts, he says the oath of the Green Lanterns while in a trance caused by the lantern's glow. Carol unexpectedly knocks on the door, but Hal refuses to let her in and invites her to join him for a drink. Hal apologizes to Carol in a bar, shocking her, and then laughs. He recognizes the song being played and invites her to dance with him. She also tells him that she checked the flight data and found nothing wrong with it, implying that Hal did choke and crash the plane. He storms out of the bar, enraged by her revelation. Bob and the UCAV pilots ambush him on his way to his car. After taking a beating from them, Hal unintentionally uses the power of the ring to knock all 3 out with a massive fist of green energy. The ring creates a ball of green light around him and lifts him out of the Earth's atmosphere. He then travels through a wormhole to the planet OA, where he passes out as he travels through its atmosphere. Meanwhile, Hector awakens in pain and notices that his eyes have turned yellow when he looks in the mirror. Hal awakens in a strange, green skin-like suit similar to Abin-Sur's. Then an alien named Tomari approaches him and greets him. He tells him that the ring chose him and brought him here, and that he is the first human ever chosen. He shows him around Planet OA, explaining that the Guardians created it specifically for the Green Lanterns. Being chosen to join the Green Lantern Corps is both an honor and a huge responsibility. Jordan is ecstatic as they both fly around. Jordan asks Tomari about green energy while they are in the air. Tomari informs him that the energy is derived from the planet's main battery. Its power is derived from the will of every living creature in the universe, and it is the universe's most significant source of energy. He takes him to the Great Hall for a Green Lantern meeting, which Sinestro leads. He informs the Green Lanterns of Parallax's assassination of Abin-Sur and 4 other lanterns. He informs everyone that the Guardian has chosen him to lead a squadron of the best lanterns on a mission to find and defeat Parallax. He reminds them that they are invincible when they work together and have never been defeated because they are the Green Lantern Corps. Tomari then leads Hal to the training grounds and begins teaching him how to master the ring by learning to focus his will to create what he sees in his mind. The ring's limits are only those that the user imagines. The ring blinks, and he explains that it will alert him if there is an impending threat. Then he meets Kilowog, the chief trainer, who begins testing Hal and demonstrating to him that his opponents will not fight fairly. He also warns him about the sun's gravitational pull. When Sinestro arrives to see the human, he dismisses Kilowog because he will be the one to continue Hal's training. He tells him to ignore his fear because being afraid prevents one from acting, acting prevents one from defending, and defending prevents one from dying. After defeating him in battle, Sinestro tells him that Hal reeks of fear and that he is unfit to be Abin-Sur's successor. Hal quits and returns to Earth, realizing his fear and weakness but retaining the power ring and lantern. Meanwhile, when Hector discovers his new abilities, he teaches a lesson. He can now read people's minds and hears a student complain about how boring his class is. Hector knocks the student out of his seat simply by looking at him. He leaves class and goes to the laboratory to have his blood tested, where he discovers the presence of yellow particles that have begun to spread in his blood. Later, his father texts him and asks him to meet him in the office. During their meeting, Hector realizes that the DEA chose him to perform the alien's autopsy solely because of his father's connections, not because of his own abilities. He leaves after overhearing his father's thoughts and hearing him say he's embarrassing for him. Sinestro arrives with his squadron in Sector 2312, on the outskirts of the Milky Way galaxy, and attacks Parallax. It instantly breaks their binds and feeds on their fear of the Lanterns. He returns to the Guardians and informs them of the incident. The Guardians inform Sinestro that Parallax was once one of their own until he desired to control the yellow essence of fear, only to become fear itself. Sinestro asks the Guardians to create a ring with the same yellow power as their enemy, believing that the only way to fight fear with the power of their enemy is to use fear itself. Back on Earth, Senators Robert Hammond and Carl Harris are celebrating the signing of a new contract with the military Air Force. Hector notices Hal and Carol meeting and becomes envious. He waits until Hal has left before approaching Carol and starting a conversation with her, hoping to impress her by telling her about the alien. His father arrives and stops him, and he storms away. Later, as he leaves the party, Hector attempts to kill his father by telekinetically hitting the tail of his helicopter with a pipe. The plane crashes into the party, but Hal transforms his ring into a car and successfully parks it, saving the senator and the partygoers. Then he pulls Carol from the wreckage and flees while people are filming him. Meanwhile, Hector returns home, angry because he was unable to murder his father, and his body transforms into an alien. The following day, Tom goes to Hal's apartment and convinces him to show him the outfit. Hal relents just as he is about to charge the ring. Displayed the suit to him. Hal pays Carol a visit later that day. She recognizes Hal behind the costume and mask upon closer inspection. Still, she can't believe it, so Hal tells her what happened, and they spend the day alone. Carol, on the other hand, is disappointed in him after learning that Hal has left the Corps. Hector then returns to the laboratory and performs a new blood test. He notices that the yellow particles have now engulfed all of his blood. At this point, Amanda Waller arrives and asks him to accompany her to the facility. Hector sees her memories when she touches his shoulder, and he can now access mnemonic data. She drives him to the facility, where he meets with his father, who promises to make things right after seeing his appearance. Dr. Waller informs Hector that they have discovered a second alien life form buried beneath the first and that he has been exposed to it. He claims he has never felt better and attacks his father, but the doctors intervene and administer a sedative. While Hal is alone in his thoughts, the ring warns him of impending danger. Hector awakens bound, and the doctor attempts to sedate him once more. He kills him with his telekinesis, then frees himself and puts his father in his place. He also kills the guards and throws Amanda up against a wall. Hal arrives just as Hector is about to murder her, and Hector drops Waller. Hal saves her as she falls by creating a pool of water that whisks her away from further danger. He attempts to free the senator, but Hector attacks him once more. Hector touches him and sees his memories. He now knows everything and recognizes Hal. Then he burns his father and places his ring on Hector's head. At this point, Parallax detects the presence of Abensur's ring and decides to attack Earth in order to destroy the ring of the one who defeated him. Hal realizes Parallax is on his way to Earth and tells Tom and Carol about Hector, who murdered his father. Hal also informs them that the ring made a mistake in selecting him. Carol says he's brave and can overcome his fears, and she believes in him. Meanwhile, Parallax orders Hector to kill Hal, but Hal returns to Planet OA to seek assistance from the Green Lantern. The Guardians created the yellow ring and gave it to Sinestro. He tells them that in order to protect OA, they will concede Earth's destruction to Parallax. However, Hal appears, instructs Sinestro not to use the yellow ring, and requests assistance from the Corps in saving his planet from Parallax's impending invasion. They deny his request but allow Hal to return to his home planet and defend it. When Hal returns to Earth, he discovers that Hector has kidnapped Carol and intends to inject her with Parallax's essence. He persuades Hector to give up the ring in exchange for Carol's release. Hector drops Carol after Hal agrees and hands it over. He tries on the ring, which blasts a hole before pointing it at Hal, but it doesn't work because it can only be used by the person it chooses. Parallax appears and consumes Hector's life force for failing to murder Hal. Hal tries to take the ring from Hector's body, but Parallax grabs him and feeds on him. Carol successfully launches a plane's missiles on Parallax. Carol grabs the rings and throws them at Hal, who immediately puts them on. Parallax has now wreaked havoc on the city, and Hal has arrived to confront the monster. Using the power of the ring, he creates various weapons to save the people. He recites the oath, gaining strength from it, and confronts the foe. After capturing the enemy's full attention, Hal entices Parallax to pursue him across the solar system. He moves toward the sun, and Parallax becomes entangled in the sun's gravitational pull, disintegrating the entity. After the battle, Hal loses consciousness but is saved by Sinestro, Kilowog, and Tomari before he, too, is drawn toward the sun. Later, Hal is congratulated by the entire Green Lantern Corps for his bravery. Sinestro informs Hal that he is now in charge of protecting his sector as a Green Lantern. Hal and Carol spend one last moment together before he departs, and he informs her that he will be gone for some time. Hal flies away after the two kiss. The film concludes with Sinestro putting the yellow ring on his finger, causing his green suit and eyes to turn yellow.